Alright, so in this episode we're going to be going back into the hull. I don't do a lot of work on the actual boat, the hull itself, during the week because my day job keeps me very busy. But today we're going to work on water intrusion because as it sits out here and it rains, I have tons of water that gathers in the bilge of the boat and it has to be pumped out every day after it rains. I do keep a couple of pumps in there, but they're not on flow switches or anything, so I have to come out here and connect them to the battery, pump it out, get it dried out, and go on again. So everywhere the tuna tower was, or everywhere there was, let's say, I can't think of the bow rail, all those holes are still there. So what I want to do is take those, and I'm going to put backing on the back of them. I'm not necessarily going to seal them up right now, but I'm going to put backing on the back of them. And it's the Cusa board, and it's been wrapped in fiberglass, and it's just a little tiny backing plate. And I'm going to use thick epoxy to hold them in place. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to cut the old stuff out. I'm going to sand it, probably de-wax it, and then you'll see me put the thick in there. So let me know what you think. So right here is a good example of what I'm talking about. As you can see here, the holes that are open to the atmosphere. I mean, obviously that's where the rub rail was. That doesn't make a big a difference. But what happens when it rains, all that water rushes down, comes down in here. Again, there's a mess down in here. Then when you open up these hatches, most likely, it's full of water and trash in here. Yep. And this is all from the rain this week, and there's been a lot of it this week. So I've already pumped it twice this week, and here we go again. So the idea is to get ahead of this is I'm going to go ahead and patch a lot of these holes up and see where it takes me from there. I did get a couple of the engine hatches. They're not engine hatches. A couple of these port hatches fared yesterday, and now they're in there. Yes, I know there's a gap around them. They've still got trash underneath it. So it does stick up a little more than I'd like. So I think what I'm going to do is come in with a router and just take the edge off, which will allow it to just kind of recess down in here. We'll kind of see. I'm not that worried about it. The biggest thought was just trying to get them done and get them in here going forward. So I'm probably going to start up at the front and do the bow rails first and work my way back down each side. And then when we get back in the main area, we'll be pulling the vents, stuff like that out. And then I think I've also got some for the rod holders and everything later. Doesn't really matter because there's no floor in it right now, but the rest I need to get taken care of. I'll give you an idea what I'm doing here. So here's the engine vents. There's one here and one here. And what I did is took the nuts off the bottom of them, brought them up, and these will actually be sent off to be powder coated. I'm going to have them coated. I will be replacing all these screens, obviously. This does help keep the big stuff out in your engine room, like these. Anything else decides to get in there. Not sure how the best way to put those back down is. A lot of times what I find is these bolts are broken off. I've had that happen a few times. End up building a plate, drilling it, tapping it, setting it down in there. With these, it might be different. We'll have to see if I can straighten them out and fix them. That's what I'm going to do, and kind of go from there. So as you can see here, this is the backing plate on the back of those vents with a hose that runs down into the bilge. So what I'm going to try to do, I don't know if it's just siliconed in there or if it's actually epoxied or 5200. I guess we're getting ready to find out pretty quickly here what it is. The only thing I'm going to do is take a chisel or something to pry underneath it to get it started, and just see what it takes to move it. It looks like it's going to come out. Let's see. And there we go. So we'll have to clean all this up, definitely. And go back and sand it so we can epoxy the little Kusa patches on there. So I'm not going to drill those out right now. I'm going to just patch them up, cover them in fiberglass, because it's going to take a few years to get to the point that I need need these vents put in. So for the time being, I'm just going to do it that way. And let this thing get down there and actually do something. I'm using a chisel. You can use a bunch of things. Chisels allow me to use my favorite tool, aka the hammer. There's a couple things I strongly recommend when refitting a boat, like top of the line tools. One of those is bee spray. I don't know how many times I come out here and they've created a new nest for me to mess with. Let's see if I can get it from the other side. Can't really reach it good. It actually went better than I thought it would. You can see where it pulled on the glass. I don't know if you can see that or not. A little bit. That's okay, because it's all going to be epoxy back in. None of that will actually matter. So we got 3 more of those to do. Alright, so here's what I did. I got the units taken off, and I've made these little backing plates here. And you can tell it's not coated on this side. This side will be coated actually to the hull when I tab it in. I did put 1708 on the other side. Whether it makes a difference or not, I don't know. It's just what I chose to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the thick up across this. Okay. And I'm going to stick it up against the hull in that area. Still got to do a lot of sanding and cleaning up. I wanted to give you an idea what's going on here. So stick it up in there, hold it for a little bit till it sets. And I'm going to do all those. And I have the deck fills all done as well. I am using one of these sprayers. It's pretty nice. I put the Total Boat de-waxer in there. And that stuff actually seems to work a little bit better than acetone, if you ask me. The acetone tends to eat through certain things and leave a little bit of a residue sometimes. So I strongly recommend that stuff. So we'll start cleaning it up a little bit. I'm just going to grind it out with, I only got some little air grinder that'll fit in that area. Sorry, it leaks a lot of air. I think it's 24 or 36 grit, maybe 60 grit. I don't know what it is, but. Not very easy to get in there on the corners, so I'm probably just going to hand scrape it out, and then I'll turn the camera back on. As you can tell, they're in there now. Kind of let time get away from me, and then I pushed the wrong button on the camera. Didn't get to see it, but I'll let you see this one. Where is it? Right here. Needs to be cleaned up a little bit more, but I'll show you kind of the process of what I do to get it ready. The first thing I do is I clean up both the grinded area and this, and like I told you before, I've just got a sprayer. Just spray it off a little bit, and already lost my clean rake. There it is. Sorry, the phone sits down. Just wiping the back side off that's going to touch anything. Keep the lint off of it the best you can. And then we're going to smear epoxy on it all the way around through here. And pretty good amount of it. And what oozes off the side, I'll take a popsicle stick and smooth the edges out. Can't really get in there to show you with the camera, but you have to take my word for it. So what we're going to do now, I had to cut the camera off. I couldn't quite get in there to show you in the video anyway. But I got a deck fill here, and you can see the rotted wood in it. Kind of give you an idea. See how there's a little bit of rot in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go from the bottom. See if I can lay down here. Go from the bottom here. And I'm going to mark out a square section. I'm going to cut it out, and I'm going to recess that piece of Kusa up in there, and then that's going to then that'll be epoxied in, and that'll cut out the rot and take care of putting the new piece in. So we take this piece here. Let me see, let me lay down. Something like that, and I'll mark around that, cut it out, recess that into it, epoxy it in, then glass over it later, and it'll be good to go. So let's see if we can get the, maybe I can try this on the camera, but I'm probably going to cut it out, clean it out, then show you my process, put it in. As you can tell, we're going to do the same thing here. This is where the tuna tower mounted at one time, the back legs, and you can see how nasty and rotted the wood is. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in here, cut a small patch out again. We'll have a square one, I think I've already got built, and make sure, the thing is, we just want to make sure we cut back past the wood rot. And then we can seal the ends of the wood with the epoxy. That's no big deal, but there's a little bit more rot on the top of these gunnels than I thought there was. So stay tuned, we'll get it marked out, and maybe I can walk you through the cutting process this time. You'd think I have a pen or a pencil or something around here. I don't seem to have one close by, and it's not worth the walk to me. So this was actually for one of the through holes. For some reason I misplaced the other one I made for the tuna tower. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a screwdriver, mark down the side of it here. Doesn't have to be exact, because you're going to cut it out bigger than the hole it's supposed to be anyway. Something tells me there's quite a bit of wood rot in here, and this will have to go. See where it's the laminator right here, or I guess that's what you call it. So, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I use a die grinder first, or a cut-off wheel first, and then I switch over to the oscillating tool. So for this, I highly recommend wearing a face mask or a breathing apparatus, because it tends to make a lot of dust. Try to keep the camera on through it, but hard to it's gonna catch it or not. If you're using a wheel like I am that's too big for the grinder, because I like the way they cut off better, watch your fingers. I'm gonna take I use a Milwaukee. Use whatever brand you're into. Seems to work really good. Batteries last forever. I found that the Milwaukee blades so far have been the best ones I've used, but any of y'all watching this know a cheaper alternative that actually works, let me know. Somehow I gotta take this little square out here. I think what I'm gonna do is bust it out and then cut it out from the back side, or cut it out from the inside then. It is hot today. The last one came out pretty easy. Once I got under it, which shows that it's probably got too much moisture under it if they come apart that easy. This one was actually dripping while I was cutting it, so yeah, it's terrible. Have to go back and forward quite a bit, if that's the case. I have to make another piece. That's dry right there, but man, this whole cutaway has to be done. So I know it's got to be replaced right behind that wall too. So this might be one of those things where I have to replace the whole thing. So that didn't work out the way I wanted it to. I was hoping to be able to put a patch in here and be done with it, but as wet as it is through there, I'm gonna have to. There's a solid piece. I gotta go way back in there. I can go ahead and take it out now, or I can leave it in. I don't have a piece made to go in there yet. It takes a day to get everything to dry. So I might, probably going to cut it out so the wood will start drying if nothing else. Hopefully it doesn't go back any farther than this, because that's going to be one big patch as it is already. Well, this side didn't work out the way I wanted to show you, but yeah, that's bad. You can see that. Should not be water inside the core. That's the downside to cored boats, is once water gets in, it has nowhere to go. That being said, though, a lot of this is my fault. I've had the tuna tower off of it for almost a year now, and started rotting when I took it off, it wasn't this saturated. It got saturated because I didn't get the holes plugged up in time. During the winter time, I kept it under plastic and took it off in the spring so I could work on it. It looks like I probably did more damage than I did good. Well, we'll try it again on the other side. I'll go ahead and pull the rest of it out and see where. That's a lot of water. That's very bad. So far, this is the worst spot I found on the boat. Oh, but I'm getting in some good wood now. Good news is there is some good in it. Not much. Find what I did with the chisel. Like I said, I found the chisel's the easiest thing to do this with. Somebody else knows of any secrets, let me know. I was hoping it was going to stop right there, but I'm starting to get into some good wood, but it's not looking promising. Based on that, and the fact that I've only got 6 more inches for the first rod holder, and I know it's rotted. Looks like I'm going to do an entire gunnel piece, which means stripping all of this out. I thought it, I mean, it's starting to look good here. Still a little iffy over here, though. Alright. Yes, I took that out on purpose because I'm going to make new ones. You can see where the first rod holder is, and I already know. So there's only like 6 6-inch piece here that's not rotted. So probably the best thing for me to do is run it from, I think, damn near all the way back probably. See if we can tell. Looks like the whole thing. That sucks. So the whole gunnel's got to come out. Yeah, I'll just have to cut it and make a new piece. So I'm not going to cut it all out today, because I'd rather have the piece ready to go back in when it's time. But I've got it opened up enough now I can take measurements. I'll take that piece of wood and use it as a template, and I'll build one of those for each side, and they'll be made out of kusa again. But for now, I'm going to concentrate on the other side, see if it's just as bad, and if it is, I'm just going to plan on putting full gunnels all the way down from the top. Well, I guess from the back of the cabin, because that's where it stops. So go from the back of the cabin, or from the front of the cockpit all the way to the back. This is the transom. That'll allow me to tie in the corners there with the pieces going across the transom. So it'll add a lot of strength, also a lot of cost and another day's worth of labor, but I don't want to leave any of this in here. I mean, I know there's probably a lot of people that says I'm beating into it too much and never notice it, but can't. I don't know if I can leave it in there. I know if it's saturated I can't. But knowing the fact that I have to replace that piece, I might as well just cut it out all the way out and around and put a solid piece in all the way from the back, where that back corner piece is, all the way up to the front here and be done with it. So let's go look at the other side. Okay, now that they found out what we got to do in the gunnels, or gunwales, whatever you guys call them. I've heard them called a few different things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up top here, and everywhere something was bolted down, I'm going to go ahead and try to drill through it and see how bad the core is here. Because if it's dry, I'm going to be able to feel it. It doesn't look terrible, but I'm probably going to go ahead and open that up a little bit. That one looks good. So that one I can patch. Right? If I can get that out, I'll do the same thing that one. It's a good one. It's like this is pretty bad off. Still got the bolt holes in it. Not much you can do other than cut that out. This one, yeah, nope, it's wet. So this spot's got to come out too. Seems to be more that's got to come out than there isn't. I'm almost certain these have to come out. I'm almost scared to drill them out because I know this whole section is going to probably have to come out and be reinforced. So here's where the bow pulpit sits, and you can see somebody had already epoxied it up years ago. I plugged most of the holes. This is where all the through bolts were for the cleats. I think they were okay when I pulled those out. I'll go up underneath and look on those. I don't really want to drill them out right now. It's already 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm gonna have to redo enough as it is. See, stuff like that. See the bolt still in it. I'll have to knock all that out. See, it's just rotted. A lot of work there. So I wasn't going to start on the top, but I don't want to start mixing more epoxy until I have more I can plug off. I made myself for a mess now. Got a lot of work to do up here as well. Guess the only thing I can do is actually just get started. Just come out and start cutting it, find how far out it goes, make my plates to go in there, mix my epoxy and pour it. Hopefully I can get some poured and covered before dark sets in. All right, we're on the bow of the boat now, cutting out some areas you guys just saw. And you can tell how far out this actually can go. Just that little hole there. And you can see how much water and moisture can actually seep into the wood. No balsa is designed so it's not supposed to really ruin it, but it can get in there. So this was not a bad spot. Either way, I'm gonna go ahead and bust it out and put a piece of couche in it. All right, here's one cleaned out. Only took a couple minutes. It's only 1/2 inch there. I think I'm just gonna go cut a piece of 3/4 to make up some of the room here, and then epoxy it in tonight. The 1/2 inch makes a good template for what I want to cut out. I know I'm cutting too big of a hole for what's needed, but some of these areas are going to probably need bigger. Some of them only need just a little hole saw. It's just a matter of kind of finding what works. Here's the one where the hole I cut out is probably not going to be big enough. You can see the rod all the way back here in the back corner. There's really no telling how far down it goes in there. So I just have to keep cutting it back until I get to good wood. I'm probably okay on the edges here. I'll do some checking on it after I get it busted out. But the rest of it, I'm gonna have to open it up a little bit more. All right, for everybody out there who says they just have a little small hole that's maybe dripping some water into the core, this is what a 1/4 inch hole turned into. See, that was a 1/4 inch bolt at one time. And you can see all this that had to be cut out. So that spot's a little over 1 foot long and about 8 inches wide. To give you an idea, this is 5 by 5. So that's how much damage can be done from just one little screw. So if you got a boat, it's got a screw hole in it, patch it up, because you definitely don't want to get into doing this. I got one there right now, one here. Whole gunnel's got to be replaced. I'm gonna do about a dozen over there probably. If it gets much worse, I'm just gonna rip the whole thing off and start over. But hopefully it don't come to that. All right, gonna finish this video out. As you can tell, kind of got myself into something here. Well, I started off with just gonna patch a couple of holes. I found some delamination. I also found a ton of water damage and some water underneath the fiberglass that hadn't quite soaked in yet, and that's these areas right here. And that one there. So what a headache. Not sure what I'm going to do this. I'm not sure if I'm going to patch this many holes or if I'm going to just take it all off and record the whole thing. I'm not made my mind yet. So by the time you see this, most likely I've already done it. But I'm going to go ahead and end the episode here. Thanks for watching.